It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston, and welcome to another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks again for joining me as we've been doing this show for over 8 years now here on WTMA, giving you my opinion, my expert opinion on what's happening in this market. As somebody that's been selling real estate now for 16 years here in Charleston, been in the top 1% of agents here since 2009, about $1 billion in sales under my belt. And so I relay what I'm seeing kind of on the front lines and peel back the curtain on this industry so that you, the listener, you, the consumer, have armed yourself over time with information, with expectations that will help you when it comes time for you to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. That's what this show is all about. It's about providing you with information in a passionate way from somebody that's not here to try and sell you anything. I just want the folks listening to the show to really get it, to really understand what's happening in housing. And if it turns out that you want representation, if you're thinking of hiring a real estate agent, you don't have one that you know, like, and trust, then of course we'd love to earn that business. So we're going to talk today about how the role of a real estate agent is changing, in my opinion. It really has changed, but not a lot of other people know that yet. So we're going to talk about what some of those differences are, how we as real estate agents are viewed by others, how we view ourselves, and really what we need to be doing in order to provide you, the consumer, with maximum value. So we're going to talk about that among a few other things. But, if you'd like to reach out to my show, just a little bit of housekeeping, or reach out to me, just a little housekeeping for the show, you can always go online. You can look at our videos by clicking on the radio show tab of our website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. You can learn more about my team and who we are, what we do, what we sell, all that great stuff. Listingsincharleston.com. Of course, you can search the MLS. You can find out more about the homes that we have for sale. In fact, you can actually not only get an analysis on the value of your home, but you can actually find out how many buyers we have in our database for your home right now. So if you're thinking about selling, the challenge in this market, of course, right now is, well, I can sell it and I can get a good price for my house, but where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And I'm going to talk about that today. That's a real frustration for people right now. We are seeing kind of I'd say we're in the eye of the storm right now with a lot of buyers, in that they've been looking for a while. They've been edged out time and time again in multiple offer situations. So we're going to talk about that cycle and what you as a buyer can do about it. So we've got some great information on our site regarding that. Of course, hundreds of shows on the radio show tab, listingsincharleston.com. If you want to call me personally, my phone number, my cell, is 843-400-8009. I will actually be the one that answers that phone call. 843-400-8009. You can call or text me. So let's kind of get into what buyers are going through in this market right now first. Really both buyers and sellers to an extent, because there are a lot of folks out there that would sell their home, would be a listing for a buyer to purchase. So we're just going to call this shadow inventory. So we have all this shadow inventory where folks would sell their home. They want to sell their home. They want to buy something else, but they just can't find anything that they're happy enough with to make sense out of the move. Or by the time they find it, they either don't have their home on the market, which weakens their position, assuming they can't just buy another home without selling their home first. Or they just, by the time they get around to making an offer and getting their home on the market, it's too late. They've lost a multiple offer situation or multiple offer scenario. So you have all these folks that would be listings that would balance the inventory somewhat, and that want to buy, they're kind of caught behind the eight ball. They feel like they're stuck. And really, we've been having more and more conversations with buyers about this that have been going at it on their own. And again, we're going to talk a little later about how the role of a real estate agent is changing. It's morphing, in my opinion. And if our team, as an example, understands very well what our value proposition is to different types of people in different stages of home buying and selling. But I'd say the majority of agents, it's just same old, same old. We're going to do the same thing year in, year out, expect a better, different results, and to make more money in less time. The industry in and of itself is not very, advanced maybe would be a good word for it. There are several that are, most are not. They're just here to help you buy or sell a house. They're not forward thinking. They're not, fingers on the pulse of the market. It's very reactionary to them. And it's very basic, we'll put it that way. And so what's happening with these folks that have been looking for a while is, first they kind of go through FOMO, right? They go through the fear of missing out. Everybody's doing it. They know the interest rates are low. They know payments are good. They know prices are going up. Consumer confidence is high. It makes sense to do something now. And that's why we've had such this reduction in month's supply of inventory, homes available for sale at any given point in time, because we've had basically, anywhere from, 1 to 3 years worth of buyers that would be purchasers in that market anyways, basically just accelerate their plans. They say, you know what? If you really think about it, I'm going to be working from home now. There's nothing keeping me in this location. It sure would be nice to have more space. In fact, I need more space if, I'm going to be working from home now. So why don't we look around? Why don't we see what's out there? We've got some nice equity in our home. We can take that. We can put that into something else. And we can make the transition. And sometimes it's, within the same neighborhood. In my neighborhood, I think we've had 3 or 4 transactions so far this year where the listings sold to people that already lived in the neighborhood. They just either traded up or traded down. And so you've got this fear of missing out, which gets them into the market. It gets them excited. And then they start looking at properties, and then they start seeing the multiple offer situations. They start seeing the prices people are paying for things, and it leads to frustration. Maybe they're not doing something right. Maybe they need some help. Maybe they actually hire a real estate agent now. Maybe they take some steps to kind of correct themselves, not correct themselves, but correct the path. What am I missing out on? What am I not getting here? Why do I keep losing? So then it goes from, FOMO to frustration to fatigue. And I think that's where kind of a lot of people are right now. They're stuck between that frustration and fatigue, portion of this process, and I'm just kind of making this up as I go, but that's really what is happening. People are irritated. They don't want to put their home on the market without finding somewhere else to go, because it's fairly easy to get a property under contract right now. That's frankly not the challenging part in this market. Now, having said that, getting top dollar for your house and getting incredibly good terms for your house, yeah, that takes skill. That you can't just throw up a house and expect to get the best of the best every time with no extra effort. And that is, by the way, where real estate agents do come into play. But we're at this point right now where they've tried. The buyers have tried. They don't want to expose themselves by putting their home on the market, having somebody make an offer, and them not have somewhere to go. And I think really what it boils down to is, in my opinion, a lack of education among real estate agents. Because if we, as a community of agents, were offering more solutions, we wouldn't have as much frustration and fatigue. Because what happens next is, we go from FOMO to frustration to fatigue to forget it. I'm actually fine where I'm at. I don't need to move. No one is forcing me to move. We're having a lot of those conversations too right now. They say, you know what? We tried. We're just going to wait. It's just too much hassle. It's too hard. And so if you're tuned into this market as somebody that, has a large team like I do, and we're doing a lot of transactions, we're helping a lot of people, we're subjected to a lot of the experiences that people are going through and the trauma that comes with it. A good business person obviously is going to find solutions. And so that's what I want to talk about when we come back. I want to, analyze these issues a little bit further, give some options for you to consider if you're in this stage where, I would buy something. I do need to sell my home first, but what comes first? What do I do first? How do I protect myself from selling my house and having nowhere to go? So we're going to talk about that and a few other ways in which I think the role of a real estate agent is changing, but slower than it needs to be. Really what we need here is some correction in our industry. And so I want to talk more about that as we continue the show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. Remember, if you want to reach out to me and learn more about what our team does to help folks, you can visit us online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com, or you can call me personally at 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009. Stick around, folks. We'll be right back.
Hear the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 9 and each Sunday morning at 10 on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
1250 WTMA.
Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, folks, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. We're talking about the reality of this market, how challenging it is to be a buyer right now, somebody that maybe wants to buy a new home but has to sell their home they're in first. Maybe they just want to buy something in general, and they're just continuing to experience the frustration of being a buyer in a seller's market. Anytime you see something you like, it's swarmed by a bunch of buyers. Or anytime you see something you actually want to make an offer on, you have to pay more than it makes sense to pay for the property just to secure the house. I mean, that is what's happening in this market right now. It's really tough for some folks to wrap their head around. And I'll tell you that it's not for everybody. It's certainly not for the faint of heart if you're a real estate agent, because it's a challenging job right now. Which maybe you wouldn't expect listening to this program, hearing me say that. Maybe from your perspective, you're thinking, there's so many people moving to the area. There's so many folks that want to buy and sell that business must be amazing. Well, business is really good for us. Our team's doing very well, and I'm very proud of them and all the success that they're having. But to get a buyer a home right now is no small feat. So we really do have to pull out all the stops. And so I want to walk you through that process, and I want to talk with you about some of the things that we're doing right now, but really what I think the process should look like. Because there's a big difference between what the process should look like when you're firing on all cylinders, when you're really going above and beyond for a client, versus what is really happening. What actually takes place after you have that conversation with an agent about what you're looking for. What are the things that happen behind the scenes that you should know about? And that's, I think, why some folks love this show, is because I'm not afraid to peel back the curtain and give you guys kind of the insider look at what actually happens in the life of a real estate agent in the office when no one's looking. I think it's important for you to know that. And I'm going to continue to do it because I get good feedback on it. So thank you for that, by the way. So let's say that, we're in a position where we want to buy a new home for whatever reason, but we need to sell our home first. Here's what most agents are going to do once they learn that that's the case. They're going to, and it's, again, this isn't anything new. You've probably heard me say something like this before. But they're going to talk with you about what you're looking for, bedrooms, bathrooms, price range, location, square footage, amenities, so on and so forth. And they're going to construct a search for you based on those parameters so that each time a new property hits the market, the MLS will automatically email you that property. Now, there's a bunch of different ways in which we can create those searches and the frequency at which you receive those alerts. Most people do it what we call daily, meaning when you wake up in the morning, you have a whole long list, or you would hope to have a long list of new properties to look at. there's an instantaneous option as well, which means, hey, you might get a few emails a day from me, but that is a representation of, the down to the second activity from the MLS, which, by the way, can take several hours to sometimes a day plus in order to syndicate to websites like Zillow or Homes.com or Redfin or Realtor.com. And some of these websites are saying that they've got like a 15-minute lag time. I just know that not to be true. I've experienced way too many delays and issues, and I don't set that expectation with clients anymore. It's really a next day syndication expectation for all these websites, meaning the consumer-facing websites you would go to search for property because you're not a real estate agent. You don't have access to the MLS. All those properties show up there because of the agent's entry of that information into the MLS. So they're going to create this search for you. So now you are informed of new properties as they hit the market, just like everybody else is. So now you've got kind of a leg up on the folks that aren't talking to real estate agents, but now you're just in the same playing field as everybody else that is working with a real estate agent, or that it has at least had a conversation with them to receive those types of alerts. In other words, what you now have is nothing special, if we're being honest. It takes an agent 2 minutes to set up a search for you, and then they're going to put it back on you. They're going to say, all right, so everything's set up. Everything's good to go. You now have access to the MLS. So when you see something you like, let me know, and we'll get out there and we'll take a look at it. If it's something you really like, then we'll talk about making an offer. And for the most part, that's where it stops, which is sad, but it's true. There are some agents that will do things above and beyond, like they'll post a buyer need on their Facebook page. They'll say, hey, I've got somebody looking in this area, in this price range. Who do you know? What do you have coming up? And of course, a lot of real estate agents are friends with other real estate agents on Facebook, so it makes sense to do that. And you know what? It takes 30 seconds, and I'd be willing to bet 75 to 80% of agents don't do that. It's straight up send you properties from the MLS based on that search I created for you. So even doing that is a big leg up on the competition, which again is still kind of sad, but it is what it is. So what are some things that these and so from there, that's pretty much it. If they end up having a conversation with an agent or somebody that's thinking about selling their house, and they kind of get a hit, so to speak, from Facebook, then maybe there's some opportunity there, and that's good. Obviously, you want that. But outside of that, that really kind of encompasses the tools that agent has in their tool belt to find you property. Now, the only thing they can do is just react faster than everybody else. And even that's important because that means that the agent needs to be in tune with the properties they're actually sending you, rather than just this set it and forget it mentality. If you think about the agents and kind of what goes through their minds, one could say that the more property searches they have created, the higher the likelihood of somebody just randomly reaching out to them and saying, hey, I like this property. When can I go see it? And if that's their game plan, it is a volume play for them. It is a numbers game. If I set up enough people with searches, at some point, someone's going to have to reach out to me and request more information. At that point in time, then I can help them. But until then, really the only thing I'm doing is setting up a search. That's what most agents do, and that is the reality. And I know that there are agents that listen to this program and they shake their head, and maybe they even fall into that trap themselves sometimes where they're like, you know what? Oh, gosh, I have so much on my plate right now. I'm just going to set these folks up with a search. If something hits, then I'm sure they'll let me know. But I've got so many other things to do right now that I just can't. And I'd be willing to bet there are a lot of agents shaking their head up and down right now. So what are some of these things that agents can be doing for these folks? Because remember, the example, this whole frame of reference is somebody wants to buy a house and they need to sell their own home first. So what comes first, selling the house or finding another house to move into? It's a great question. There are some options that you as a seller and potential buyer have that most people don't even talk about. And I don't get it. I don't understand why this is not more commonplace in this market. It's not hard. And it doesn't even create that much need that much creativity. It's just no one's doing it. So there's a huge opportunity for you, for those that are listening, that need to sell a home and then buy another. First and foremost, let me just say this. Before we get into some of these options, we internally have our own solution to this issue. We have partnered with a company that will provide you with a cash loan to purchase the property, and then you just pay them daily rent and a very small percentage of the purchase price of the new house. It's like 1 or 2%, depending upon some factors. And it removes the necessity of you having a home sale contingency in your offer to purchase a new home, which means that you now have a cash offer. You can still go and try and sell your home, and realistically, of the dozen plus times we've done this for folks, we've been able to sell the house without the home sale contingency before the closing on the new house, and we just accelerate the closing. Everybody moves in, everybody's happy, and if there are some folks that have probably I've probably struck a chord with them that they're probably interested in learning more about this. It's really not that complicated. It might sound complicated because it's a new idea, but I promise you the process is actually pretty darn simple. You need to sell your home in order to buy another. Financially, you cannot afford to own 2 homes at one time. So without this option, that you are forced to have a home sale contingency. You are forced to go to the seller of this home you want to buy and say, hey, I love your home. I'll pay you a great price for it, but I have to put my home on the market and I have to sell it before I can buy yours. And you know what sellers are going to do with that kind of offer? They're going to say, maybe as a last resort, maybe, but certainly not right now. Too many other, fish in the sea. So, sorry, but we'll sit on this. We'll let you know. But with this offer, with this program, you get to go to that same seller and say, you know what? We're actually going to just pay cash for this place, which they don't care about how you get the cash. All they care about is that they now have a cash offer. So we're just going to pay cash for it. But between you and this third party, once this third party pays cash for it, you pay them a 2% fee. And then from the day that they own it until the day that you own it, you're just paying them rent, prorated on the daily basis, based on fair market rent, by the way. They do not price gouge you on rent. So it's an incredibly awesome program. In other words, if you have a home sale contingency, think about it this way. If you have a home sale contingency, if you need to sell your home before you buy something else, that seller is going to rake you over the coals with terms and price, and they are going to make you, they're going to make it hurt a little bit because they're going to want a good deal for their house if they're going to take those kinds of terms. So if you're paying this third-party company 2% to get a cash loan to be able to buy the home that you want versus having to pay more because you have a home sale contingency, it kind of balances it out. So if you want more information on that, because what we're going to talk about next are some of the more creative solutions that would not require this step to be taken using this third party. But we're going to talk about some more creative solutions, things that just people aren't doing right now that it kind of boggles my mind. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. And remember, if you want to reach out to me and learn more about working with my team and what some of these solutions look like for the folks that we're helping, feel free to give me a call, 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009. Or check out my website, listingsincharleston.com. And lastly, you can email me, brian@brianbeattyteam.com. Stick around, folks. We'll be right back.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back, folks, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I always like to say thank you. Just take some time and tell you that I appreciate you for listening to this program, for calling me, for allowing me to help, for contributing to my business by allowing me to do what I do best and do what I love, which is help folks buy, sell, and invest in real estate. So thank you, whether you're a listener or a past or future client, or maybe someone that just likes listening to information about housing. We're here to help, and it doesn't always have to just be with buying, selling, or investing in real estate. Maybe you need help with a contractor. Maybe you need advice on a particular topic. Whatever the case might be, if it's real estate related, I'm sure there's a way we can help. Feel free to give me a call, 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009. Or check us out online, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. So we're talking about this process of selling a house, buying another. What do we do first? How do we attack this without weakening our negotiating power? Which is, I think, the ultimate question. How do we do this without, without feeling like we are getting taken advantage of? Because we're not in a position where we can simply buy two homes. Well, I just told you about a program that actually would allow you to do that with a cash loan that essentially costs you 2% of the purchase price of the new house. And I can connect you with all the details on that if you'd like. Again, reach out to me, 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009 or listingsincharleston.com. But let's say you don't want to do that. Let's say you want to go in a different direction. So here's an option that for whatever reason, I just don't see. I just don't see it on the MLS. Maybe I'm not looking hard enough, but there aren't that many properties out there for sale. They're getting a little better. The number is rising a little bit, but still, we've got a long way to go before our market is balanced. We're still at about an 80% reduction in inventory compared to this time last year. Isn't that fun? So here's an option. Why not? Because here's what the seller is going to say. If you have a home sale contingency, you need to sell your home before you buy another, and you see something that hits the market and you love it and you want to buy it, and your home isn't even on the market yet, that seller's going to say, no way. We're not taking that gamble. You haven't even tried to sell your home. A multitude of things could go wrong. We're not taking that risk. There's so many other people interested in my house that don't have to go through that process that I'm just not interested in taking the offer. Or, we'll put it in our back pocket. If nothing else works, then maybe we'll have a conversation about it. And you don't want to be treated like that, right? You want your offer to be given serious consideration and at least the respect that it deserves. I mean, you do, in fact, want to buy their house. You just got to take care of some things first. So one way of combating that is to put your home on the market first. Be preemptive. And don't freak out just yet, because you are going to say, and it will be displayed online, especially to real estate agents, that you have a home purchase contingency. It's so simple, but I swear I just don't see it happening in our MLS. We've had a lot of success with it. We're going to put your home on the market. And even if you accept an offer, you have a predetermined period of time to go and find a suitable replacement property and at least get through like the home inspection, right? Because, most deals fall through for two reasons: home inspections and financing. An appraisal is a function of financing. So why not give yourself some time to identify something else, get that property under contract, at least get through the inspection, make sure there are no major issues that would derail the sale. And now you've got reasonable confidence that not only will your home sell, but another home that you're purchasing isn't going to crumble last minute, and then you're left selling your home but not able to buy another. It's a very, I think, attractive option for sellers. And I don't know how many real estate agents out there, frankly, even know that option exists. It is not rocket science. In my opinion, it's common sense, but no one talks about it. So therefore, you just don't see it in the MLS. Pretty simple stuff, in my opinion. Very easy solution. Something that gives you more negotiating power. So think that one through for just a little bit. If that's something you're interested in, again, reach out to me and I'll walk you through all of the specifics so you absolutely understand how we protect you contractually so that you don't end up homeless. I've done over 1,000 transactions. I've never once made anyone homeless. And that shouldn't be something I have to beat my chest about because that's called me doing my job and doing it well. But I understand the concern, and it should be a real concern because there are a lot of agents out there that, my God, I'm looking at these contracts that they're submitting on our listings, and it's rough. They're not filled in correctly. They're opening their clients up for some pretty serious issues. If we decide to play hardball on certain things, and we have in the past. And it just has to come with the understanding that, look, I'm going to be ethical, I'm going to be professional, I'm going to be legal about everything that I do. There's no question there, but it's not my responsibility to do the other agent's job for them or to help them negotiate or to point out errors in their contracts that ultimately weaken their client's negotiating power. Sorry, that experience is left for my clients. So anyways, another option here that we have talked about in the past on this program, and it's something that we've just gotten really good at because it's needed. And that is finding properties for folks outside of the MLS. You can go and you can search Zillow and Realtor.com or even have agents send you properties from the MLS itself all day long. But everybody else has access to that stuff. And for the foreseeable future, it will be a competitive market. It's not like people are moving to South Carolina and to Charleston. I mean, we're one of the hottest locations in the nation for people to move to. I think we're second right now. And so the other option here, which is, again, kind of a common sense option, but something you should be very aware of, is when you work with the real estate company that really understands marketing, advertising, prospecting, the value of talking with people over the phone about their real estate plans, documenting that information, organizing it, and then being able to say, you know what, Mr. Jones, I appreciate you telling me what you're looking for in a new home. Let me look to see if there's anyone that I have talked to or that my team has talked to that would be interested in selling a home similar to what you want to buy, and let's see if we can match up your time frames. It's not been that hard or that challenging to organize our database in such a way that when we have one of those conversations on one side, the buyer side or the seller side, that we have an efficient and effective way of saying, well, who do we know that we can, how can we fill the need? If we're talking to a buyer, who are the sellers we've talked to that might be interested in selling that are not on the market right now? If we're talking to a seller right now, how many people are we talking to that would buy their house? Again, playing the role of matchmaker is something that real estate agents have done for decades and decades and decades. But now you start to get websites and social media and blah, 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 blah. You create all this noise, all this distraction, and agents become overwhelmed and they start to take the easy way out. And they forget that playing that role of matchmaker is vital. I mean, it is incredibly important, especially now. So if you're in one of those positions where you'd like to buy something, you can't find what you're looking for, you want to sell your home, obviously it requires that you buy something else, you can't really find what you're looking for, have a conversation with real estate companies. I mean, there are going to be several folks that kind of have some crossover, right? Like I might be talking to somebody that two other agents are talking to as well, and that's part of the business is who's going to win that business. Who is that seller going to hire to help them sell their property? Well, when we call sellers and we have buyers interested in their home without them even being on the market, that's usually a pretty good sign that, and in some way, shape, or form, we'll be working with that seller. They appreciate that. I think that anybody listening that would be willing to raise their hand and say, in the next few months, I'd like to sell my home. And maybe you've already identified an area that you want to go. Why not get a jump start on things? Why not make things a little easier for you rather than kind of subject yourself to the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people that are going to see your home in a week, and just say, hey, if you have anybody that's interested and they're willing to pay a really good price for the house, let me know. I'd prefer not to, be kicked out of my house for a week while it's being shown every hour on the hour. Or maybe you want that. Totally up to you. But it's good to have options. It's good to understand the different ways in which you can accomplish the same goal. Buying a house right now, selling a home and then buying, or buying and then selling. There, again, so many different ways of going about this, but there is more than one standard option. The only option people seem to really think about is, I'm going to make an offer on this house contingent upon me selling my home, which means I have to prep it, put it on the market, accept an offer, get through all the contingencies, and close on it before I can buy yours. And to a seller, that's just not all that attractive right now. It can still be done. We're still doing it. It's just tough. So if you'd like more information on some of the things we just talked about, when we come back, I'm going to finalize this thought that I have on how some real estate agents need to change what they're doing to be of better value, I think, to the public. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. And again, if you want to reach out to me, 843-400-8009, 843-400-8009, or check us out online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. We'll be right back.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show is on 1250 WTMA.
1250 WTMA, the Big Talker.
Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, folks, to the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. We've been talking this show about some of the challenges that folks are going through in this market right now, and just being real, being honest. That's how I want the show to always be. That's what working with me sounds like and feels like. It's very much so matter of fact. I'm very much so a realist. Doesn't mean that I lack empathy in any way, shape, or form. It just means that if we're going to go through this process together, I want you to really understand what's going to happen as it's happening, and then what's going to happen after that. I want you to understand the process in totality. We are extremely passionate about communicating what's happening. We have a communication guarantee in all of our agreements that very simply states if we're not in touch with you at least once per week from the time you hire us until the time the deal is done, you can fire us. No questions asked. You don't know it's a thing. And it's because communication is, in all the folks that I talk to, and just maybe to add some validity to this, over half of the listings we sell were previously listed by another real estate agent. So when I ask them what went wrong, why the relationship got to the point where they're no longer with that agent, it's communication. It's not hard, but for whatever reason, it's something that we as an industry just struggle with. And it's probably because we're just so busy with everything else, or so busy trying to make ourselves look good on social media, whatever it is, that they forget to call their clients. I don't know. I've never really quite understood it. It's something very simple that I did at a very early age that won me business over other agents, and it seemed so crazy to me that a person could earn a substantial amount of money, an incredible living selling real estate, and one of the main things they have to do is just communicate with people. Anyways, sorry for the tangent there, but we're talking about some things that agents can be doing differently, and how their role is changing, and how we can continue to be a value add to society, because there are always going to be disruptors in any industry. You look at the folks that are like Zillow that's buying real estate. And there's a bunch of other companies, by the way, institutional investors that are run by, private equity funds or hedge funds or so on and so forth. And they're just going out and they're buying real estate in droves. Not necessarily so much here in Charleston, but it's going to get that way at some point. It's not quite the buying season yet for investors because the market's overheated. But once that changes, and I think it will change, probably 18 or so months from now is my guess. I'm not putting that, I'm not drawing the line in the sand. I'm not saying it is going to happen in the next 18 months because who knows? All we can do is be prepared for it. But I think one of the things that agents, first and foremost, they really need to change is they need to stop acting like people don't know what they're doing. Basically, they need to stop treating people like they're idiots. Like giving them access to the MLS is the cure-all for the frustration that they've been going through over the past few months when trying to buy a house. People are educated. They understand the process. I would say that a good portion of buyers understand value. They've been looking at the MLS. They can look at a property that lists and say, oh yeah, that one's going to sell. Versus ones that are like, I don't know. We'll keep an eye on that one. That's they're probably going to have to do something about that price, or they're going to have to do something about that house because I don't see that one selling. And sometimes you get surprised, but generally speaking, buyers have a good understanding of value because they've been comparison shopping for, in many instances, months. I looked at this was about 3 months ago, and I looked at all of the transactions that my team did, and I removed, so in 2020, I looked at all of our transactions. I removed all of the transactions that were past clients or referral business, referrals from other agents, referrals from current clients, so on and so forth. And we just looked at what we refer to as leads, people that randomly communicated with us in some way, shape, or form, or we picked up the phone and communicated with them in some way, shape, or form. And what we found was that the average amount of time from the day that person was entered into our database until the day that they closed was 298 days. So when we talk about all these folks that are doing research online and how real estate agents need to change, they need to stop assuming that everybody's ready, willing, and able to buy a house. Some people just want information. They're not ready to transact. They're doing research. Maybe they're just in the aspirational phase of the process and they're just starting to put together the pieces in their mind of what it could even look like. Well, as a real estate agent, understanding the value that you can add to that person at that point in time is incredibly important. I'm sorry, but if you're a year away from buying a house, I'm pretty sure the last thing you want to do is sit down and have a cup of coffee with a real estate agent and or call a lender and get pre-approved. But for some reason, that is the default for our industry, and people are pretty sick of it. So being of value at different stages in the process is incredibly important for real estate agents to remain, relevant. Sure, we can still help with transactions. We can help with providing our analysis on pricing a home and get you through the process, without any cuts and bruises. But where I see a lot of agents really failing is in just being of value to people. They are seen as a door opener and as a transaction facilitator because in most instances, that is the actual value of that particular person. So I think we as agents need to evolve. We need to become more knowledgeable about the market. We need to better understand how to be of value to people at different points in time, which is why I encourage callers on the show not to. It's really not all that self-serving on my end. Of course, we want to earn your business. Who wouldn't? I'm not here to talk myself out of business, but we just want to help you at whatever stage of the process you're in right now. We don't need to offer all kinds of crazy guarantees to get people to contact us. People know that we know what we're doing, and we're just here to help. And that's our reputation is that way. If you don't believe me, look online. But that's among many other things where I think agents need to improve. Is just generally speaking, being of more value to people at specific points in time based on where they are in the home buying or selling process. So if I can help you with that, 843-400-8009 is my number. 400-8009, or go to listingsincharleston.com. You guys stay safe and have a great weekend.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009.